All right, let's dive right in. We are about to take a journey, and I mean a long journey, back in time to see how ancient India was built, piece by piece. It's a story that starts with something as simple as a stone tool and ends up with ideas that literally changed the world. We're going to connect the dots, from the very first farmers to the first megacities and all the way to the birth of global philosophies. Let's get into it.
So you might be asking, where do you even start? How do you tell a story from a time before anyone was writing things down? That's a great question. The answer? Well, it's not in a library. It's in the ground right under our feet. Our guide on this adventure is archaeology. It's like being a detective, reading the clues that people left behind millions of years ago. So first things first, we have to decode this distant past. How do archaeologists take these scattered clues, separated by millions of years, and turn them into a coherent story? It all starts with their toolkit.
Now, archaeology is way more than just digging holes. It's this super careful three-step process. First, you have exploration. That's the searching and finding of sites and objects. Then comes the really delicate part, excavation. You're scientifically peeling back layers of the earth, almost like pages in a book, to see how life changed over time. And finally, you get to interpretation, where all the science comes in to figure out how old things are and what it all means.
And this is the kind of stuff that just blows your mind. The absolute first clues we have of people in India, they're not grand buildings or anything like that. They're simple, primitive stone tools from places like the Soan Valley. We're talking about humanity's oldest technology, telling a story of survival from over 2 million years ago. Just let that sink in.
Okay, so from those early days of just trying to survive, the stage was set for a massive leap forward. We're moving from scattered groups of people to something truly revolutionary, the subcontinent's very first megacities.
But wait, before you can build a city, you gotta learn how to stay in one spot. And that's where the Neolithic Revolution comes in. People started to settle down in villages. They figured out how to grow their own food, like barley and wheat, and how to raise animals. They started making pottery to store everything, and they built actual houses. These weren't just small lifestyle changes. These were the essential building blocks for civilization itself.
And what a civilization it was. Just look at that number. That's the estimated size of the Indus Valley civilization. To give you some perspective, that's bigger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. It was, quite literally, the largest urban culture of the ancient world. Absolutely staggering. Now, let's zoom in on one of its incredible cities, Mohenjo-Daro. This place was no accident. It was a masterpiece of urban planning. The streets were laid out in a perfect grid. Houses had plumbing that connected to an advanced underground drainage system. And you had these massive public buildings, like the Great Bath and a huge granary. This points to a society that was incredibly organized.
The people there were also amazing artists. They created these tiny, intricate seals and stunning bronze sculptures. But here's the kicker, the one mystery that still haunts us. We have thousands of examples of their writing, but nobody has been able to crack the code. The voices of this incredible civilization are, for now, silent.
So, after these great cities declined, things began to change again, big time. A new era began, one marked by new groups of people and a revolutionary new technology that would completely reshape the subcontinent: iron.
And the contrast between these two periods is just night and day. Society went from living in these highly planned cities to a more pastoral, semi-nomadic life. The go-to technology switched from bronze to iron, and the economy, which had been all about trade, became much more focused on cattle. It was a total reset.
So if there aren't massive cities to dig up, how do we know about this new age? Well, our clues come from the Vedas. These are some of the oldest religious texts in the world, a huge collection of hymns and philosophy that were composed and passed down just by word of mouth for centuries. They are our main window into this whole new world.
And the real engine of change driving this world forward was iron. Iron tools were just so much stronger, so much more effective than bronze. With iron axes, people could finally clear the super dense forest of the Gangetic Plains, opening up massive new lands for farming. This was the tech breakthrough that made everything else possible.
And all this new agricultural power, courtesy of iron, set off a kind of chain reaction. It wasn't just about growing more food. It sparked the comeback of cities, the rise of powerful new kingdoms, and an absolute explosion of new, radical ideas. Historians call this the second urbanization. It makes sense, right? With a huge surplus of food from those new farmlands, not everybody had to be a farmer anymore. So you get specialized craftsmen, you get more trade, and boom, new towns and cities start popping up. For the first time since the Indus Valley, cities were back in a big way.
You can literally watch the dominoes fall. It's a clear path. It starts with new tech, iron. That creates more food, which allows for bigger settlements. Those settlements then organize themselves into powerful kingdoms, the Mahajanapadas. And to handle all the new trade that's happening, you invent a new tool, coins, making business faster and easier than ever.
But this wasn't just about politics and money. When society changes that fast, it forces people to ask big fundamental questions about life, about suffering, about the whole point of existence. They started to challenge the old traditions. One of the answers to these questions was Jainism. It offered a path of really intense discipline in a time of great change. At its heart, you have these 5 vows. You see things like non-possession, which makes total sense in an age of new wealth. And of course, its most famous principle, ahimsa, a profound, deep commitment to nonviolence toward every living being.
Another answer came from Buddhism. Siddhartha Gautama laid out this really clear, logical diagnosis of the human condition. He called them the 4 Noble Truths. It's a powerful way to look at things. First, identify the problem. The world is full of suffering. Second, find the cause. It's desire. Third, realize there's a cure. You can end suffering. And fourth, here's the prescription.
And that prescription is the Eightfold Path. This isn't just a list of thou shalt nots. It's a complete guide to living. It's a framework for how your mind, your words, and your actions can all work together to lead you away from suffering and toward enlightenment, or nirvana.
So as we pull the lens back, you can really start to see how this incredible journey, spanning thousands and thousands of years, has left a permanent mark on our world.
When you think about it, the story of ancient India is a story of layers. It's about how the simple tech of a stone axe eventually leads to the complex planning of a city grid, how the oral hymns of nomadic tribes grow and evolve into profound philosophies that influence billions of people today. Each era really did provide the foundation for the next.
And that past is absolutely still with us. As the famous line goes, it's not something that's over and done with. The ideas, the structures, the innovations from these ancient times are still echoing all around us.
Which really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. When you look at the layout of a modern city, or you think about the big ethical questions we're still grappling with, you have to ask yourself, how much of our world is still being shaped by these ancient blueprints laid down thousands of years ago? Makes you think, doesn't it?